Welcome, everybody. Welcome to What the Football. Welcome to the BH and Scrubber Show. We are back for our second year. We got our rookie year out of the way. We're very excited for this season. We've been following the training camp so far. The draft was great. I think we got a great lineup for our team. We got a great schedule, and we're going to go our thoughts and processes on how we see our team at this point. Of course, anything could change in the future, but we really like what we see. And of course, I got my boy here with me today, BH. Welcome, BH.
Hey, man. Boy, glad to be back. Our first year last year, the rookies. We had some challenges, but I mean, we pulled it off. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think the team struggled more than we did. So I'm telling you, it was something else, but it was fun to ride that roller coaster with them. We learned a lot. We learned a lot about those players. It's kind of now going into this year, we have that basis and we know these guys and it sort of is good because the way, with Ron in his third year, continuity is going. He's big on that. I mean, we know these guys. And that's really exciting. And there's some new additions. We got the undrafted free agents, the draft picks. We got regular free agents, some guys we signed. I think as we go over the roster, the thing I'm seeing, I think, you see the same thing where when we're out watching other guys out there, they're talking about the same thing. Who's the fifth, sixth cornerback? Who's the number 6 receiver? Who's the kid? So we've got this great team set. You know what I mean? It's pretty set. We're only looking at the kind of the edges and who's going to the practice squad, and that's kind of nice. Yeah. Because when you're doing the team and you're wondering who your number 3 receiver is going to be, and this kind of stuff, it's no fun. We don't have that problem. Now,
so we're at the point where it's like, do we keep 6 or do we keep 7? Do we keep 10
that's the other thing,
or do we keep 9 linemen? So.
Exactly.
Yep.
So speaking of linemen, let's our offensive line did pretty good last year.
They sure did.
But we had some injuries and stuff. But the biggest change is at guard. We know Eric Flowers left. They couldn't come to an agreement, and our star guard Brandon Scherf, who didn't want to be here anymore, he left. He got a big old fat contract, I think, from Jacksonville. So he's gone. But, we brought in, Andrew Norwell came in, former Carolina guy that Ron knows. And then we brought Trey Turner over, Trey is another former Carolina guy who was actually a stud, in the day. He had some Pro Bowls, was really good. Then went through an injury phase. Kind of went around. He went to the Chargers in a weird deal. It was a trade. They traded an injured guy, and we traded him to them. It was really, 2 guys, and really he didn't do very good at all. He struggled. But then he goes to Pittsburgh last year and actually graded out really well. Good blocking and passing grades, and he played all 17 games.
Nice.
And he knows Ron, and they brought him in. So those are the 2, biggest things, changes I see. But, having Charles Leno, Sam Cosmi, Chase Roulier back up there, if those guys, the good thing about Norwell and Turner is they're veterans. They're going to sink in. They know systems. They understand. They just got to kind of get up on the terminology a little bit. But I think, they know what they're doing. They're not playing out of position, So I really think that's good. I don't know. I think for sure for depth, Wes Schweitzer and Cornelius Lucas are locked.
And as far Charles, right?
Yeah, and Sadiq's there. And now it looks like, I don't know the inside story on him because he was a tackle. But the times he played tackle for the Commanders, he looked really bad in pass protection. Yeah. He's an excellent run blocker. But you still got a pass protected guard. But I think they finally convinced him, hey, if you're going to stay on, not just with us, but in the NFL, you better play guard, man. And so he's listed as a backup. I think that's great having, Sadiq and Wes Schweitzer. Um, I think that's really good. They did bring in some tackles, Rashad Hill, Aaron Monteiro. These guys are, I think Hill's got some good experience, but I think a lot of it was just injuries. I think guys are getting dinged up, and Ron and everyone's doing the right thing. I mean, right now, someone, gets a hangnail, they make them go work out on the sideline.
Yeah.
They just, anything tweaked, anything minor, and it makes sense. Why? I mean, you do want reps, but you don't want a guy tweaking a quad, and missing all the preseason. So I think those two guys, who knows where they end up.
It's still scary when they sit out all these guys. When you hear Curtis Samuel, the way they talk about him and some of these other guys, John Bates and these people, and you're like, oh my God, it just sounds horrible.
Yeah.
So hopefully, like you said, they're just being prudent about what they're doing, and these things ain't deeper than what they're letting on to, because it is the preseason. You don't want to let on that your guys are hurt or anything. So
yeah.
Still scary.
Well, you made a good point. Two guys, and like you said, you got John Bates, you got Curtis Samuel. I think Bates is really dealing with something a little stronger. He hasn't really done much. Curtis, they're just treating him with kid gloves because last night, I think at that practice, the fan practice out there at the stadium, he looked great. I think he caught a touchdown for Wentz.
He did. It looked good.
And he looked fine. So, I think sometimes they treat these guys with kid gloves. But so really, other than that, you've got a bunch of guys fighting for these spots. And then Chris Paul was drafted almost always. A draft pick is going to make the 53. I think so. I mean, Chris Paul could make it to the practice squad. I think they can protect him there, because that would be a guy that teams would like to poach, I think. But I'm wondering, Chris Paul and Sadiq Charles could be battling it out. And so and then you look at, with these two tackles, Rashad Hill and Monteiro, you've got an undrafted free agent and Alex Akingbulu. So this is the guys here as we go and we see them in the games coming up. We're going to start to see a line who is going to be the main guy and who they're going to select. But going back to the beginning, there's really not a lot to worry about here.
No, they look really good.
They look real good, so I got no problem with that.
And for Wentz, it's an upgrade for what he was working with last year with the Colts.
Yep, exactly, because the Colts great run line for blocking for runs, but they were like not rated well for pass blocking. So I think he's gonna appreciate that a lot. And I think our backups are all healthy. I know there's some. I think Tyler Larson, the center, he's a little iffy. Chase is back, but we do have Keith Ismail. I think Wes Schweitzer would honestly start over Keith Ismail at center.
Yeah,
if we had to go that route.
Last year he did. He was in there.
Yeah,
Ismail only came in when Schweitzer hurt his ankle that one game.
Yeah. So I think another one. So the O-line. Yeah, I mean, you were talking about Carson Wentz, obviously our biggest free agent and the biggest change to the team. I mean, Taylor Heineke's still here, and we drafted Sam Howell, which no one expected Sam Howell to be there when we got him. So there, exactly. Don't ever throw those jerseys away, man. But Carson Wentz it's an upgrade. We both talked about it. You watch Carson Wentz film, and nothing against Taylor. He's a different kind of guy. His arm strength and his ability to put the ball in places. Heineke just didn't have that. Defenses, they learn quickly. They don't respect you. If you can't hit certain parts of the field, they cheat in. Yeah. And Wentz can make all those throws. Now he has a history of some bad throws, although he's not an interception king. Just sort of a history of missing guys, which is not good. Yeah. But he's not, he's not a guy that's just throwing in the coverage. So he like 7 interceptions last year. A couple of years ago, he had 7. He's not. Yeah, he's not one of those guys that's throwing in it, but he does like get a little cockeyed with bad throws. Yeah. But right now, people might be reading a little bit too much into it because this is his 3rd system in 3 years. He came out of the Philadelphia system, and they're all pretty much the same. But reads are different, terminology is different, and so your brain, it takes a while. You want to be able, you don't want to have to think about the terminology like, oh wait, that's right, this means this here, not that. You don't want any of your guys actually having to sit and think over the terminology of what they're supposed to do. So, I mean, to me, I love it. I think it's a great upgrade. He's not a tier 1 QB, but he's just what we need. A team that likes to run the ball. Yeah. Control the clock.
Like what Ryan Fitzpatrick was supposed to be last year.
Exactly.
Get us through. Our defense is supposed to be good enough to hold them back. All you have to do is go down and score some points. And with Taylor Heineke, he's the perfect backup quarterback. If he's got to stand in there for 2 or 3 games or the rest of the season, I mean, he's serviceable there too. So I really like him as a backup. I'm sure he's gotten better since last year. And, and then of course we got Sam Howell in the 3rd slot learning. Hopefully he'll be, learning the system. And then next year, a little bit more backup, maybe by the 3rd year after Carson's had a couple of years, draw him in and get him working as our quarterback. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of a perfect setup right now. So I'd say next, man, let's look at these wide receivers, which is really a cool thing because number one, we extended Terry McLaurin. You don't have to worry about that. That's a done deal. Happy for him. And then we drafted this guy, Johan Dotson, which we talked about it during our draft shows. A little surprising, a little on the earlier side than people had him going, but every report, local and national, is that this guy's killing it in practice. And he knows how to run routes.
Yep. Got good hands, good soft hands. He knows how to pull it in. He doesn't just stip it and grab it. He kind of gets it in there. Man, he looked really good out there. So yeah,
his catch radius is great. So he has things to learn and he'll get going. But Terry in the fold obviously is good. And then you put him with a healthy Curtis Samuel. That's a scary group. So then we start looking at, and then there's the usual names, guys that we know. There's Dax Milne, Cam Sims, Kelvin Harmon, Diami Brown.
Yeah, all looking good. In them practices, they look good. Dax was looking good. I like him from the year before too. I just thought he had potential. I really liked him. He did a couple screwy things. I think he dropped one time or fumbled one time. But other than that, I thought he did really good. Cam Sims, obviously, done great work for us.
Cam's great.
Diami Brown looking good in that Kelvin Harmon. He caught a couple good ones in the training camp too. Looking good out there.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And you look at Kelvin, I think now they added a guy, Alex Erickson, who I think they've added primarily for special teams as a returner, but they're letting other people return. I've heard Dax Milne sometimes in practice gets the bulk of return work, but they're giving everybody a shot. Even Jared Patterson's back there. So they got to decide.
Johan Dotson doing it a couple times.
Yeah. And they're going to have to decide who, because they want a guy who can specifically return for sure. But if he can man a 5th or 6th wide receiver position, that's good. We don't want a guy that's, a so-so wide receiver just because we need a return guy. Some of these guys got to step up because we want that flexibility.
We had DeAndre Carter last year.
Yeah.
Who totally filled that role.
I know. Yeah.
Amazing.
So Kelvin Harmon is a guy. I think Diami can stay, but you look at Dax, Alex Erickson, and Kelvin Harmon. It looks like they'll be battling. We do have a couple of undrafted free agents, Jaquez Ezzard, who I think did a lot of return work, and another guy, Kyrick McGowan. These guys are probably long shots, and so far in camp reports, they're not blowing up. There's not any, there's no one coming out saying, wow, these guys are showing us a lot, which is pretty typical. You just pray for a guy who's undrafted to really come to the forefront. It doesn't always happen, but I would hate to, you hate to see someone like Kelvin Harmon not make it. I don't think he is, I don't think he can be on the practice squad. It might be in his 3rd full year. So a guy like Kelvin Harmon, that could be a tough decision because you can put Dax on the on the practice squad. We can save him there, but you can't, or Mark and Michael, another guy who actually looked pretty good. He caught a touchdown pass from Carson Wentz. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing as the offensive line, man. We're really set at receiver. We're just trying to determine where they pull the return guy and then who goes to the practice squad. So
do you keep 6? Do you keep 7? Same with the front line. Do you keep 9? Do you keep 10? Do you keep 8?
Yeah.
So
I think it always goes to overall health. It's like if your O-line's beat up, you might keep 11. You never know. And then, but unfortunately,
keeping a lot of them.
Yeah, but unfortunately, one of the other position groups suffers because you got to take it from somewhere. So, well, that's once again, this is a good situation. There's nothing to be worried about here. It's just sort of a guess who. Now here's an interesting situation, though. If we move on, so far so good, but now we hit the bump in the road.
Yeah,
tight ends, man. Yeah, it's.
I knew where you were going.
There's no other bumps in the road, man.
No,
I mean, this is the one.
Yeah, it's tough.
So Logan Thomas, John Bates. Now Bates has been down for a while. Unfortunately, Cole Turner, who is besides Johan Dotson, has been the star of camp. People are loving him. Now he tweaked a hamstring, so they're taking it slow with him, but he couldn't play. So I think last night they just had Samus and then 2 undrafted free agents, Curtis Hodges, who they're pretty high on, and Armani Rogers. So, Ron, did you see what Ron said in a press conference? We're going to probably have someone Sunday morning. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I was listening to it while I was doing something, and I may have missed it. I was listening.
You would have missed it. I was watching it and almost missed it. So he just kind of quickly said, "Yeah, we're probably going to have someone here Sunday morning." Almost like, like we need a body. So they're talking to people, probably just kind of, probably a quickie contract kind of thing, but they just need to get someone else in here. Looking at the best fit. So they'll probably have someone come in. That'll be interesting. So, but they need someone, and then hopefully the timetable. Logan Thomas is kind of a big question mark. We're not sure. He's still on the PUP, right? Technically, I think. Yeah. So he could be a lot like Chase. So we'll talk about Chase Young. We'll talk about Chase later. He's a guy who could miss 2 or 3 games till he's full. So, man, we need John Bates, Cole Turner, Curtis. We need all these guys to really be ready. You got to have 3 starting tight ends and someone on the practice squad, man. You just got to. I mean, you can go into a game with 2 tight ends, maybe, but that's pretty thin if you ask me.
Yeah. Luckily, our first 2 games are against Jacksonville and Detroit. So.
Yep. That is, I mean, let me tell you, we'll talk about that in the schedule segment, and that's huge. And on any given Sunday, someone can beat you, but man, that sure is better than starting off against Green Bay and Dallas.
Yeah, no shit.
Trying to get it together. Let me tell you. Okay, well, we'll just wait and see. As we start to do our cut down shows, because every week we will be doing a cut down show here. So everybody come back for those.
Definitely.
And we'll start to see kind of where we're at, and then we'll get more reports on injuries, who's coming back. So.
We're just mostly covering who we pretty much for sure see is going to be on the team, and like looking at the extras as maybes and all that kind of stuff. So can't wait to whittle it down to see what they got for the 53.
No kidding, man. It's going to be awesome. Well, let's move on to running back, where once again this group looks really strong, especially with the addition of Brian Robinson, the bruiser from Alabama. Everyone is loving him at camp.
Yep.
He's bringing exactly what they wanted, and more. He's shown to be he's not just a big bruiser. He's pretty nimble, catches the ball pretty darn good, has that 3-down potential. Who knows what the future holds? But he's, all the way around, he's a tough guy, but can do other things. I think he's not a guy that got, chewed up at Alabama either. He had to wait. So he's had a lot of time in Alabama practicing and learning, and it just took a while for him to get his chance. So he's one of those guys that's sort of a late bloomer, but a guy that didn't get, run, 350, times, a year for 3 years or anything. So I like him a lot. And our guy Jared Patterson is back. Jonathan Williams is there. They brought Reggie Bonifon. He was an old Carolina guy. They brought him in.
Squad last year or the year before, wasn't he?
I think he came back last year because we just started, guys started dropping and Ron brought him in. I
Right.
think Reggie's more of the pounder type. I think Reggie and Jonathan Williams fit the Brian Robinson role, whereas Jared
Right.
Patterson, Antonio Gibson, and J.D. McKissick sort of fit more of a all around role. Because, J.D., I left him for last because, he was that close. He almost signed with Buffalo.
I
The
love JD
Bills wanted him.
McKissick.
Yeah, we reported it, right? And then
Yep.
5 minutes later, it's like JD said, "No, I want to stay there," which is really great because you hear all this FUD out there about that this is the worst team to play for. The ownership's terrible. Everything, it's a disaster. The stadium's a disaster. Then you get this great young man like Terry, McLaurin, who says, "No, I'm working out a deal. I want to stay. I got my agent working. We're going to get something." And guess what? He did. He could have just played out his contract and walked out next year and had a huge contract somewhere. If he didn't like it here, he could have easily just played it out and left. And then, like I said, JD, Buffalo is odds-on favorite to go to the Super Bowl, man.
They look good.
Easy.
Yeah.
They look real good. That is a tough team.
Yeah.
And JD said, no. He made a decision. The coaching, the way he's used, the culture. So that really lays to waste a lot of this stuff out there where people are just cracking on this team like this is a bad place to play. It's not true. Those are two fine, upstanding young men. They're great football players, great guys, and they wanted to stay. So that tells you a lot.
Yep.
I know we do have Alex Arma, our fullback.
Woohoo!
Yay. And Alex is a great special teams guy. Good thing about Alex, I wonder if Alex could even play some, blocking tight end if we needed him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I like fullbacks for blocking. That's the whole idea for me, and the 1 yard guaranteed every time. That's what I see a fullback doing. Blocking, opening the hole, going through the line first, and also getting that 1 yard guaranteed every single time. So I hope they keep them.
Yeah.
Why the NFL gets rid of fullbacks, I've never understood it. You got to have a guy that's big and burly that'll just blast a hole through the middle. So I'm all for it.
You do. And he's a real special teams guy. He does really good from what I heard. I think a lot of the times it hurts. I think he gets he doesn't make the game rosters a lot of times because they're hurting, and especially last year, at different positions. Because you got guys kind of tweaked in, let's say, in your offensive line group. So you keep 2 extra guys, or you got some receivers that are tweaked and they're going to play, but you don't know how they're going to do. So you bring in, you have to have another wide receiver for the game. So Alex Arma always gets kicked to the curb.
Yeah.
But I think if everyone's doing good, man, that's a guy you want to get on there because he takes a special teams play. So that's really good. And like you said, him blocking for Brian Robinson on 4th and 1 is just, if we can't get a yard with those two, we must just shut it down, man.
You need someone to get the guaranteed. Like when we had beast mode, when I like Seattle, you knew you were going to get the yard. You knew it. It wasn't even in question. You know what I'm saying? And you got to have that when you're playing football. You just got to. It's 4th and inches.
Yep.
You have to get that, and so you need the people to do that. And I'm all for keeping him. So that goes back to: do you keep 6 wide receivers or 7 or 9 linemen or 10 linemen? So I hope he makes it.
Yeah. I do too. So that pretty much covers it. I think we're set. I think Antonio Gibbs is going to benefit by Brian Robinson being here because he doesn't have to fill that role anymore. He can be the slasher. He can be used in the way they want to use him, not trying to develop him. They can, on 4th and 1, 3rd and goals, they can use Brian Robinson. But between the 20s, Antonio Gibson, and hopefully they can use him like he was used in Memphis, more of a out of the backfield catcher. He's a good runner. He showed some good running. But I think he can be better at what he does, having Brian Robinson there.
Yeah.
He can concentrate on
holding on to the football. He dropped
kidding.
A couple in practice. So that kind of shit worries me. Things with Curtis Samuel, these lingering things, him with his fumbles. Man, I just have this dark thing inside of me that says, man, he's going to fumble at the wrong freaking time. Not that there's a right time, but if he has to fix that fumbleitis, man, I'm like Coach Carroll for Seattle. Sorry, you got to go, dude. He had 6 drops last
Yeah.
year, and 4 of them went to the other team. So that scares me. Good
Yeah.
as he is, I can't have him.
Yeah.
As he is, you can't rely on that. So
Yeah. He's got to, it all goes down to his pad level. But see, he ran upright in college because that's how they used him. So the poor guy gets here and, they're trying to get him go. I mean, but, like you said, if he's not cutting, if he's putting the ball on the ground, he's got to go. But he is just learning. Last year, he talked about it a lot. Yeah, I can see I get more power and I protect the ball when my pads are down, got my pad level down.
yeah.
He's always, but the way they used him in that offense, that RPO stuff at Memphis, man, he was just always upright. It's taken a long time. So we'll see.
I get my feet behind my pads. Is the way he put it. So I like that.
Yep.
That makes sense when you picture that in your mind. What is he doing? He's getting lower, and his feet are pushing his shoulder pads forward. So instead of this, your feet aren't pushing your pads if you're up straight. So he was talking like that. So I wish him the best. I love the guy. I think he's great. But
but yeah, he can't. And we got Robinson now. So it'll be if things go south, putting him in, that'll be great.
They sat him a couple times last year because of it too.
He did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They had to sit him. I mean, they absolutely had to, because boy, those killed us.
Yeah.
Let's move on to special teams. That's pretty much a lock. We got Joey Sly last year, and he did great. Thank goodness. We got our great
that
punter,
one time when he tried
Trey.
to chase down the guy to tackle him, and he hurt his hammy.
Oh,
we had who did we bring in?
That was the worst.
That was a cluster right there. So
yeah, sort of indicative of our whole season. We just had to get a body in here to kick. And poor guy, poor Joey. He won't be doing that anymore.
Hell no.
So,
let him run.
Yeah, we got Tress punting. Got Cameron Cheeseman, our great long snapper. So, boy, we're just set there. It'll be interesting too as we go along. We'll know as camp gets going just who the gunners are going to be. You know, who we're going to be sending down. Kicks and punts, that kind of thing. That'll sort itself out too as the roster gets sorted. But it's always interesting to see who those guys are going to be.
I think it was Cam Sims and was it Troy Apke last year?
Apke did a lot.
I know it was Cam. He's number 11, right?
Yeah. We got a young guy now. We're going to defense. It was Cam. Yeah. We're going to defense now. And that there's another guy, Percy Butler. In college, he was just a monster. I mean, and this is one of those guys that mentally lives for special teams, and that's great. So he's a guy. Percy will probably be in the mix because he just loves to go down and kill people. As a matter of fact, he's the kind of guy you got to dial down.
Good.
Percy, pump the brakes, man. Yeah, you don't have to give Percy a big pump him up at all. So so that'll be fun to watch. So
I think our gunners combined with Tress Way, we did really good last year in that department.
Fantastic.
Like we had it all sewn up. So
yeah, and like you always said, like Tress can boom it if we need it, and he can lay it down tight inside the 10 or 20 whenever we need it. So it's a great combination. And Cheeseman's just he's a machine.
Yep.
He just spits out the snaps, puts him in the same spot every time. So that's why they got him when they did. So
he revolutionized that stuff, that single one spin right to the guy's hand. Don't even have to mess with places. You just catch it and set it down, and it will be in the right spot. You don't even have to worry about it. So,
yeah, I love that about him. So and that's good, and it really shows up. I mean, I really think, a lot of times, you don't know on these block kicks, did the kicker kick it low? Was there breakdowns? But a lot of the stuff I saw was some blocking breakdowns on these block kicks. Wasn't necessarily always the low kick, although there were some. But for the most part, our guys, I think they're pretty tough. I mean, Joey's, I forget what his record was by the end of the year, but I don't think he missed any extra points. He did. I mean, the only time he missed is when they pushed him in for a super long one. But he's great. So I'm super happy with that. I mean, that's nice not to going into camp, not worrying about your special teams,
Spot on.
So,
all right.
Where are we going?
To defense, right?
Yeah. Well, let's start with our great D line. nothing changes. Chase Young, Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat.
Yep.
We know that Chase is going to miss the first game. They've already said it. It's not surprising coming back from that kind of an injury. But really, Daron Payne and Montez Sweat have been camp standouts. I've been watching a lot of stuff, and people do mention them consistently. So it's good to see that they're getting after it. I think backups are going to be so important till Chase can be 100%, which might take a long time. I mean, he might play, but it might take 8 or 10 games before he really is getting up there. But I think like guys like James Smith-Williams, F.A. Obata, we got Casey Hill back, Shaka Tony. I think these guys are all going to kind of have to help out there and maybe in rotation. I look at James Smith-Williams. He's solid. He's pretty good against the run. Now the new guy they brought in, F.A. Obata, he's more of a pass rush guy. That's sort of his thing. So maybe they'll mix it up that way. Maybe that's how they'll rotate. Let James Smith-Williams be the main starter, but perhaps bring Obata in on passing downs. Stuff like that. But I like it. I mean, we've still got William Bradley King, Bunmi Rotimi. Like I said, yeah, I think finally, you know what? I think they have finally committed Daniel Wise to defensive tackle this year. Much like when we were, no, I think he, he's like he's like Sadiq Charles, kind of can do both. Daniel Wise, his flexibility was great last year, but I think like Sadiq Charles, it looks like they're using him at defensive tackle because they need the depth. I mean, we let 2 guys go last year. They were getting a lot of snaps.
The other one, I forget who, but yeah.
They did Tim Settle. Yeah,
and Tim Settle. They did great work for us last year, man.
Yeah. Over 50% of the snaps. So I think that's kind of why they might have committed a little more to Daniel Wise. And then the good news is we got Fedarian Mathis from Alabama, the defensive tackle. He's part of that mix. I feel really good about that. There's some other, we do have, David Botta's back. We were talking about him. Now he's part of the international group.
Yeah.
We know that. So, and we got some guys who are like on that roster bubble, like Justin Hamilton, Tyler Clark. So we'll see how that shakes out. It goes like everything else, like you say, how many guys are we going to keep? But I think David Botta is free. So he doesn't count against the roster or even the practice squad. So we can keep him as long as he continues to grow and do well. And then I think between Daniel Wise, Fedarian Mathis, Daron Payne, and Jonathan Allen, that's a great 4-person rotation. So we just maybe got to figure out who's going to be that 5th guy.
Yep.
Is all.
Yep. So that's rock solid defensive line. They played together a lot last year. I've just got no worries about that line.
Yeah, I don't either. And even with Chase being out, I do think we have enough experienced guys like Casey Hill will be back, James Smith-Williams. They've all got good experience. And I just think all of them, they're not all going to add up to Chase Young, but they're not going to be a detriment. And they're playing with 3 really good guys.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So as a unit, I don't think they're going to suffer that much. I think they're still going to put pressure. If you got one guy who's really, really good and you lose him, well, now you are in trouble because your backups can kind of get exposed. Yeah. But when you got 3 studs, when you got Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat, man, those guys are just keeping you busy. So, yeah, I like that whole thing. I love Fedarian Mathis, the young guy. Anything else on the defensive line? You pretty happy with that?
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Them guys look good. Got no worries in that area. So
great. Well, let's look at our linebackers.
That might be a trouble area.
Could be, yeah. We've moved Cole into the middle linebacker role. Jamin is going to be on the weak side.
Yes.
From everything I'm hearing, there's just going to be a lot of 4-2-5. And that's kind of in the NFL. I'm seeing that's how a lot of teams are playing it. You want that 5th DB gives you a lot of versatility, and then also gives us that versatility because, Ron likes the Buffalo nickel, where you bring a guy up, and that's something we'll talk about when we get to the DBs. So I think you're going to see a ton of that. And so Jamin Davis will continue to learn. I think he won't have as much going on in his head over on the weak side. He obviously has a job to do over there, but with Cole in the middle, calling the defense and being able to see the defense. Because I know Cole was sometimes making calls from the weak side, and you really want to be in the middle, last year. So that'll be interesting. And it all hinges on Cole really attacking the middle linebacker, which I think he will. He's really shown so much growth with this team. And then Jamin making that next leap now in his second year, and even Jamin
step up.
Yeah. And he even said, man, things have slowed down. And you hear that. That's something I've heard in football for 50 years is those guys in that second year, whether you're a receiver, a line, it doesn't matter. You're like, man, the game's just slowed down for me. Whew. It was just their heads were spinning when they came into camp,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think he can make that. He's such a physical guy, and he's so monstrous. I went back and watched some more of his Kentucky stuff, and you can see why they drafted him, man. He's just got this. You just can't build guys like that anymore. Even his coach, linebacker coach, I saw an interview with him. He said when he came into the locker room, he said he was introducing himself, and he saw Jamin Davis. And he said the minute he saw him, he said, wow, who's that guy? The build, not just a muscle-bound guy, just a man.
Yeah.
I mean, he had that look. And he's like, I got to meet this guy. And it was a great interview. He couldn't say enough about what a good guy, what a good teammate he is. I personally have, I really believe Jamin's going to make that next step. I really believe his only 1 year of starting in college, kind of a late bloomer. And he even came out early. But that's because his measurables, he was told, his agent was told, yeah, your guy's an NFL player. You can go back to college if you want, but you can go in the NFL right now.
Nice.
But, it might have cost him, but it did. And you could sort of see, but, he didn't suck. People really kind of think he did. But you look at his plays, he made a lot of flash plays. You look at his Pro Football Focus numbers. Yeah, they're low, but he didn't bomb out in pass coverage. He didn't bomb out. And some of these guys think, oh, this guy's pretty good. And you look at their pass coverage and like, ooh, guy got a 34 pass coverage.
Yeah.
They're horrible. And that happens, So anyway, I think Jamin, let's see what he does. But he does. This is it. He has got, he doesn't have to be all world, but he's got to step up into the position and not take any step backwards. He's really got to excel for us. So
yeah, I like him.
I'm excited.
He's going to do
I
good.
do too.
Him and Cole have had plenty of time together over last year. So I think Cole is the right man for the mic. He even said it himself in his last interview that I saw a few days ago. I want it. When somebody says they want something like that, I can do more. He even said too, like you said, he was calling them from, the outside there. It's like he wants to be in the middle where he can see everything going on and he's in control and he can make the plays and call it as he sees it. And I trust that. So when someone wants that bad, you got to give it to him and trust that that's what he can do. So. And I don't think David was that guy. I don't think it's Kalike Hudson. I don't think it's Jamin. So it's got to be Cole. So.
Yep. And then, and like a guy like David Mayo came in and did a good job, but he just, David is a great veteran and a great run stopper, a great read and react guy. But yeah, in the pass coverage, that's that thing we talk about. Boy, as a linebacker, you got to be able to go in and break down those runs, and you got to be able to take guys in coverage. And yep. David, that's not his thing, but he's still solid. He's a guy. Kalike Hudson's there. We got Trey Walker is back. Trey Walker and Bryce Norton, undrafted guys that will probably go to the practice squad, one or both of them, depending on how we do. And then from last year, we brought in some free agents. Milo Eifler and DeJohn Harris are still on the team. Mm-hmm. We kind of brought them in as things started to fall apart a bit. And we brought them in. They're kind of special teams kind of guys. And so we'll see them. I think we'll see those guys a lot in preseason. When we see those preseason games, Trey Walker, Bryce Norton, DeJohn Harris, Milo Eifler, we're going to see those guys out there playing a ton. So that'll be fun. So I think it's an improvement. Things have gotten better. It's not like it's probably a position group that we wish we were maybe stronger, but it has improved. I think it's an improvement the way they've switched Jamin and Cole around, and Jamin going into his second year. I think it's good. And you know what? These guys play. They're sandwiched between veteran secondary guys who know the system and defensive linemen veterans who know this system. They're not having to position those guys or mess with them. All they got to do is worry about linebacker stuff.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They're not, you know what I mean? They're not worrying about the guys behind them who can't cover. They're not worrying about the defensive linemen who can't get enough pressure. They know that those two groups are solid. So really all that, Jamin and Cole have to worry about is their linebacker job and taking care of what they got to take care of at the linebacker position. So that's a good deal when you don't have to think so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of those, corners and those defensive backs, they're looking good out there. I really thought
they really are.
Lots of good things being said about Cameron Curl, lots of good things being said about Kendall Fuller. So, Jamin, St. Just.
Yeah, everyone is, and the big deal, I guess, is Benjamin St. Just kind of going to the slot cover. I think they brought him in and let him know, hey, you're going to be doing slot. I think he was outside. He did good last year for a rookie. He's kind of like Jamin. He made mistakes and he had some penalties, but when you saw him play, you're like going, this guy's the real deal. He passes the eyeball test. He's got to grow. But I think when Kendall Fuller went to the outside, he just turned into someone different. I mean, something clicked in his brain. I mean, Pro Football Focus said the last 8 games of the year, he's like the number 2 rated corner.
Yeah.
The guy just was and so the coaches saw that too. So Pro Football Focus said it. The coaches said, we're not moving that guy back to the slot. And so it's great. So we'll get Benjamin St. Just, like who you said is getting, man, everyone's talking about at camp. He's having a great camp.
He got cut a little short last year too because he had a couple concussions in a row.
Yeah, that's something we always have to watch out for, and that's why like the backups. Like I'm glad that we have, Corn Elder, Danny Johnson, they'll be back. We've got a couple USFL guys, Channing Stribling and Devontae. Devontae Busby was brought in, and these are guys who are like NFL players, but free agents who mostly lived on practice squads. So, like you say, that's what the USFL, is that what it's called?
Yep, USFL.
That's what it's for. So, and they both went out and played, and people went, "Wow, these guys are pretty good." So it's nice to have them in camp. We'll see how they do, but it's nice to have the depth. We did draft 2 guys, Christian Holmes, and Percy Butler. So Percy, a safety, Christian Holmes, a corner. I wonder, Christian Holmes might make the practice squad. I haven't heard a buzz on him at all. So he might be a practice squad guy. So we'll see how that goes. Heard some good things about Percy Butler. But he's young and learning, so we'll have to see. I think Percy Butler might get the nod because his special teams, gunner, that kind of stuff. He's really good at special teams, so he might make the cut. And then there's Jeremy Reeves has been around. Another guy I think that'll make the cut. It's safety is Derek Forrest.
Yeah,
he's come back. He's doing good.
I think he did some.
What's that?
He was looking good. I think he did. Didn't he do some? He did some kickoff returns and punt returns for us at some time before too. So.
Yeah, and they're using him now. They're kind of rotating Cam Curl, him, and Percy Butler at that Buffalo nickel. So when they do the 3 safety thing, I think they're giving them all shots at that Buffalo nickel. But from what I've heard, Derek Forrest is the closest we got to like a real tough run stopping Buffalo nickel who can also go into pass coverage. Kind of like Landon Collins, but Landon was a big guy. I mean, Landon at 6'3", 218.
Yeah.
And then you've got Derek is more like, but Derek's 200 pounds. I think he's 6'0", 6'1", but Derek Forrest loves to go in and crash people. So he's got that mentality. So I've heard good things about him. You might see him in the Buffalo nickel out there coming up on the line. So once again, this group is like a lot of our groups. We know who's going in there and we're happy with them. Now we're just going to figure out who makes those last couple of positions and then who gets moved to the practice squad.
Yep.
It's like a broken record, man, but it's a good record to listen to.
Definitely, dude. I'm very happy with our entire defense. So again, that's what we rely on. We need our defense to stop the other team from making points. And then all our offense has to do is just make enough points to win the game. And I like that kind of football.
Yeah. So. I agree, man. Get that defense and just stuff them. Get field goals when you can. And that's what's nice about having Joey Sly, because, we're going to play those kind of games. So, yeah, all the way around. I like this D. Less questions on the D than on the offense, for sure. Especially when you replace two offensive linemen and you have a brand new quarterback, that can be challenging. But the defense, I think the defense is going to go right out there and kill people right off the bat. So, hey, speaking of people who are going to get killed, let's talk about that schedule, man. What do we got?
Oh, we're loving.
Boy, I tell you, a lot better than that thing we went through last year. That was tough, man. That was brutal. And then with all the injuries and things and losing our quarterback, it made it even more challenging.
Yeah, I think we had like the third or fifth hardest schedule in the league. Fifth hardest or something like that. Seventh, maybe.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Anything in the top 10 hardest is difficult.
Yeah.
It was slightly easier this year. So
it does. And I like the fact that we're I like where we're starting. I like at home against the Jaguars.
Yeah.
And then going on the road to the Lions.
Yeah.
I think those are two teams that are building, and certainly anything can happen. You don't ever take anyone lightly. But I think this team, after last year's burn, I don't think they roll into the season at all lax. They got slapped in the head last year, and I'm not going to say they got humiliated, but those were grown ass men who, man, that was a tough season. I just can't believe for a second those guys they don't care who they're playing. They're coming in to kick some serious ass. And I think the Jaguars and the Lions they're going to feast on those guys.
Yep. They're going to pay the price.
I think they are. This team is ready. They got to make up for some bad blood from last year. So, what is when's the bye week?
Bye week is, it's late in the 14th week. Something like that.
Wow.
So we have the Giants on either side of that, which is odd to me. So actually technically playing a team 2 games in a row. So the first one will be there, and then when we come back from the bye week, we'll play them at home. So I think that's interesting. A couple other interesting things too is I think we're going to play Indianapolis this year.
Yeah.
So Carson is going against his old team there. I think our only West Coast game is San Francisco. That's late in the season, so only one last year. The farthest we went was Vegas. So
yeah, and that's a hell of a football team too. But we went to Vegas and won.
Exactly. So and we came back from our bye week is deep into the season, and last year we came back from our bye week and won 4 in a row. So if we can do that again this year, that's our last 4 games. So
I like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Giants, and then bye week, and then the Giants again.
Yeah.
So Giants bye week, Giants, and then that San Francisco game that'll be one of the toughest games of the year for sure.
Yeah.
So now that's
finish out at home.
Mm-hmm.
And really, the whole schedule is like home away, home away, home away, home away, and then I think there's a couple like 2 away games in a row in the first part, and then the last 2 games are 2 home games. So it's pretty evenly balanced in that respect as well. So, and
I agree.
Spread our division out. Last year, our division, I think we played New York early in the season. Then our last 5 games were all against the division, which should have worked in our favor, but did not. So, so this year spread out a little more, and I like that a little better too. So.
I do too. And like I said, I like the way that, it is, the bye week is a little late in the season, but you know what? If we're staying away from the injuries and doing good, That's a good thing. You don't need that bye week.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, when you look at the games coming up to the bye week, you're playing the Texans.
Yeah.
There's another team. Then you play the Falcons. Then you play the Giants. That's 3 beatable teams. Then you get a break.
Yeah.
Then you come back and play the Giants. So there's, it's not like Murderer's Row where you're like, last year was Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Dallas. It just seemed like so I felt like we were in the SEC or something. Every week you got to play someone good. So it's nice to get those games, and I really do like the 2 home games to end.
Yep. And then, of course, obviously, Dallas is the last game because, as we know, that's our division rival. It could come down to the very last game. Either team wins and they go to the playoff. If you lose, you don't. So if you're looking at a 9-8 or 10-7 season, man, that makes all the difference in the world. And when you're 9-7 or what is it, 17, 9-8, and the other team's 10-7, 9-8 ain't going to get you into the wild card. It's not going to get you there. Other teams are going to be 10-7, and their top team is going to be like 13-4, and the second team's 10-7. You're not going to beat them out for the wild card. So it almost behooves you in our division. You have to win the division. You won't
pretty much.
So
yep. But it's nice. I mean, if you can go to the last game of the season with a chance to go to the playoffs, I mean, you can't ask for much more than that.
Especially against Dallas at home.
Sure.
Man, it'll be exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. So, interesting games. I think, like you said, then Carson's got to play the Colts. And then, obviously 2 games against the Eagles, where he started.
With the Eagles, that's right.
Yeah. And I think, and then another one that's talk about payback time is, the Carson's last game against the Jaguars where they lost.
Yeah.
That's the one that sent, their owner had like an aneurysm, and he was fried. I mean, I think he was the guy he told, no more Wentz, get him out of here. And, but the Jaguars played really good and beat those guys. And so, and Carson did not have a great game, but I will tell you what, I've been on a lot of Colts sites and then reading stuff and reading about them. And a lot of the comment sections, guys say, Wentz didn't have a good game, but no one on our team had a good game. We sucked. Yeah. I mean, guys were honest and critical, saying, there was a lot of bad play on that team, and Wentz did play bad, but the team really let him down. So anyway, that's kind of interesting. The thing that they cut bait with him after that game, and now he's going right up against the Jags again. So he's got a little bit of payback. You know what I mean?
Very exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to it. We got some hard teams in there. Green Bay, stepping over Minnesota might be a little difficult. San Francisco is going to be hard.
Yep.
The other ones are pretty straight, though. Tennessee might be difficult, too. But we got Detroit, Jacksonville.
Yep.
Chicago, you would hope. Houston, Atlanta, New York a couple times. Yeah. Those should all be wins. So if you could just step up and beat, a Green Bay. We were close with Green Bay last year.
Yeah.
Right?
But we get to play them at home this time.
Right. Exactly.
That's fantastic. And that's the other thing, you get to play I'd rather play the Bears and the Lions at their stadium than having to go to the Vikings and Green Bay. And that's another thing about, coming in last. You get that better schedule, and that's a big difference maker because other teams in our division are going to Vikings, are having to go play Green Bay.
Yeah. No one wants to play in Lambeau.
No, it's no fun. And I thought we held ourselves pretty well. And,
we did.
But we did beat Tampa Bay. We did go to Las Vegas and beat them. We had a competitive team, man, but it just too many things kept piling up. And it just killed us. So, well, man, we got next. Is it Saturday? This Saturday? Is that the game coming up?
Yep. Coming up.
Okay. So
1 o'clock.
We'll do. Okay. And then, so let's, should we go like, that Sunday and go, or should we wait till the cuts come down and then maybe do a midweek one real quick?
Yeah, let's do a midweek. That way we'll wait for it. They're only cutting 5 people, but still, it'd be nice to see who they are and give us a second and we can do a preview, post view. It'll be in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
Do a post view of what's happening and a preview of what's coming up.
Yeah, and we'll see the stats see who got used, see how they did. And there'll be storylines coming out, and then we'll see who got cut, and then we'll move on from there. So it'll be kind of, and I think that'll be the story as we get going to the regular season, just sort of kind of just seeing who gets to play and who doesn't, and then who gets cut.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm really looking forward to that game. So fun.
Me
Football
too.
season's here already in 1st of August, middle of August. It's crazy.
I know. It's killer. All right, man. What the football episode 1? We did it.
Yeah, we did it, man. We're now in our sophomore year.
Yeah, just me, you, and Jamin Davis.
That's right.
Trying to build on last year's success.
Yeah, and I think our team actually is a junior year team. I would think they really got started in 2020.
I agree.
Coach, and then now they're in their junior year, and you can win the Super Bowl in your junior year and definitely in your senior year. So,
we
are looking good.
Yeah, they are. All right, man. Good show. We'll do it next week.
Thanks, BH. We'll see you all later.